Hi, I'm Greg Hunter. This is the weekly news wrap up, the WNW 256 for Friday, September 30th, 2016. Three really big stories: war, finance, and politics. And I'm going to start with war because we had some big developments in the Middle East in the last week. Here, let's just go chronologically. Kerry gives Russia ultimatum: stop bombing Aleppo or all cooperation will cease. Of course, Russia's not going to listen to that. Yeah, so here we go. U.S. to suspend Syrian diplomacy with Russia, prepares military options. This is reported on Zero Hedge. These are direct quotes. And just to double down on this, here we have, the State Department threatens terror attacks if Russia, in Russia, if Moscow keeps fighting ISIS. This is a veiled threat by John Kirby in the U.S. State Department, the spokesman there. More Russian lives will be lost. More Russian aircraft will be shot down. He's talking about, attacks that could happen in Russia. Excuse me? What? And basically what they want to do, the U.S., they want, there's nobody living in Aleppo. I mean, it's a ghost town. And there, at one time, I'm sure there was a free Syrian army. There's not one there now. It is Al-Qaeda, Al-Qaeda Light, ISIS, ISIL, call it what you want. It's Muslim terrorists. That's what's there in Aleppo, and that's what's upsetting now. Of course, on the U.S. side, they're saying that Russia and Syria is stopping these aid convoys from coming in, and that's why they're also talk of a U.S. no-fly zone imposed in Syria, and the Ash Carter is the Secretary of Defense, and General Dunford, the Joint Chiefs of Staff, says, well, if you do that, that'll be war with Russia and Syria if you haven't to enforce a no-fly zone. What am I saying? I'm saying that war is getting closer. Here we have, again, and this is, remember Barack Obama said years ago, no boots on the ground? Well, wrong. More boots on the ground. 600 more troops are headed to Iraq. And again, this is not a war. This is not an official declared war. This is more troops going into Iraq. We are mission creeping up to about 6,000 troops. That's what they admit to, 6,000 troops, not quite 6,000. And so, the talk with Obama was we couldn't leave any troops there because, we didn't have a status of forces agreement. And we don't have a status of forces agreement now, yet that doesn't stop us from piling in the troops, the men, the equipment into to Syria and to Iraq. And it looks like we're going to help the Iraqi army, which is supported by Iran on a major offensive in Mosul. We also had a military deal with Saudi Arabia. I want to get to that in just a minute. That we gave them military supplies. I can't believe those military supplies aren't at least in part ending up, in Syria with the moderate rebels, which is what Al Qaeda light. I mean, we won't cut your head off; we'll just cut your hand off. I mean. So we're creeping towards war in a very notable, distinct way, and yet the mainstream media doesn't say anything about it. I mean, what are they talking about? Donald Trump and this bogus story about the Miss Universe and you're my house cleaner or Miss Piggy. Stupid. I mean, and a story planted by Hillary Clinton before the debates. Of course, you never hear about that. I'll talk more about that in just a second. James Comey, and this does have a political ring to it. James Comey in front of Congress this week, he's testifying. And, the first time he went in front of Congress, he didn't look too bad. People were upset, but he did call Hillary Clinton a liar on multiple counts and said she lied about this and that wasn't the case there and lied about that and whatever. Well, now all this other stuff has leaked out and, immunity for 5 people and zero prosecutions. Zero prosecutions is ever going to happen. You have James Comey in front of people in Congress. And might I remind you that people in Congress aren't usually people like me that, go out and get elected to Congress. Or in our district, there's Mark Walker, who's a Baptist minister. Usually that doesn't happen. The Congress is not full of people like that, although those are good people. But what Congress is full of is lawyers, former prosecutors, judges. Louis Gohmert's a former judge. Trey Gowdy is a former federal prosecutor. And they are ripping Comey a new one over all the all these immunity deals and no prosecution. Cheryl Mills sitting in with Hillary Clinton, who's a target or could be a witness in prosecution. All kinds of blanket immunity deals. He was fumbling all over himself. He looks terrible. And listen, this is my read on this, and when this, and I hardly ever use my Twitter account, hardly ever. I just put out at least for for spontaneous messaging. I usually use it to prize people that have a new post up. But when after Comey testified the last time, my general impression was, Director Comey, stop masquerading as some sort of high-ranking law enforcement officer. Step down now. I'm doubling down on that. James Comey pulled a political hackery because all the people in Congress who are former prosecutors and judges and people questioning him, he doesn't look good at all. As a matter of fact, he got down to this, we had to defend. You can call us wrong, but don't call us weasels. We're not weasels. Well, he's a weasel. There has to be huge dissent in the FBI because of this case. Because all FBI agents aren't down with that. Can't be. There has to be people that are angry about how this went down. Obviously, Hillary Clinton should have been charged. Listen, either James Comey is corrupt, compromised, incompetent, or all the above. Any way you cut it, he should step down. I mean, now he's got to say, don't call us weasels. He's in front of Congress saying, don't call us weasels. Why would he say, don't call us weasels? Because what they did was cover Hillary Clinton from May and her staff, which is really a RICO act. This is a people getting together to plan to commit crimes at the very least, but perjury, destruction of evidence, obstruction of justice, not handling classified information, bribery, treason, charity fraud. I mean, you name it. And let's just get this out of the way. I mean, who are we kidding with Hillary Clinton here? She had private servers to cover up the fact that she was arranging deals and selling her office as Secretary of State for donations to her global charity fraud. That's what went down, folks. And Comey knows it. He full well knows it. He has ruined the credibility of the FBI, and he has certainly ruined his reputation. Comey should step down right now. I mean, Trey Gowdy, who's a former prosecutor, brought up the fact that you got 5 immunity deals and 0 prosecutions. Trey Gowdy, who used to work with the FBI, says, this isn't the FBI I've seen and worked with before. That's outrageous. It's an outrageous criminal activity at the very highest, and it's sanctioned by the Justice Department, the Obama administration, and the FBI, and James Comey went along for the ride. This makes Watergate look like somebody blowing a booger on another kid on the playground. I mean, this is nothing. Watergate was nothing compared to this. And this is why the left is digging in so far, because I think if Donald Trump gets in, there's going to be people going to jail. That's what I think. Let's move on to the economy. And here we have, and I just keep tagging these fund managers, and I've loosely came up with, it's got to be over $1 trillion under management of 4, 5, 6, 7 people that have come out repeatedly and warned about trouble in the economy. And here we have again this $356 billion fund manager. Now is the most treacherous time ever I have seen in this. I've never seen this in my career. This is Joe Barata. He's a top deal maker with Blackstone Group. Big, 656 billion under management. And maybe this is what Joe sees. Look at this here. Here's the .com bubble. Here is the real estate bubble. Oh, and here we are right now, and with no earnings, with 6 quarters in a row, with no corporate earnings, nothing but the Federal Reserve and other central banks propping this up. Maybe this is why Donald Trump called this what did he call it? A big fat ugly bubble, right? It's huge. Is Donald Trump, and he's right about? Is he right about? Yes, he's right about it. David Stockman was on doing some analysis, saying, "Yeah, we're absolutely right about it." And here is, Yellen denies politics influencing decisions. Remember last year when they raised rates in December and the end of last 2015? What did the Fed come out and say? We're going to raise rates 4 times. We're going to dot plot that thing up, and we're going to raise rates. And no, they didn't. They couldn't. They didn't raise rates. They're not going. They're lying. They know the economy's side. I mean, look at all the metrics. Housing just had bad numbers. Retail all selling off. Kmart, I said a couple of weeks ago, closing a bunch of stores before the black retail quarter. And I say black, I mean put stores in the black. The big quarter for retail. And then add on that the perfect storm of what have I been telling you about? Deutsche Bank. I mean, think, folks. Deutsche Bank was $140 a share in 2006 or 7. All right, about 10 years ago it was 140. Now it's 11.55 or something. Here, bank run begins. Deutsche Bank hedge fund clients withdraw excess cash. About 10 hedge funds that we know of. That doesn't include any clients that are walking in saying, "Give me my money." Some people say, well, could they just shut that down and capital control the bank? Well, then the stock would, go straight down. That's what Jeffrey Gundlach, a big fund manager, talking about when Deutsche Bank, DB is the stock symbol. It's about $11.50 a share. When it hits single digits, $9.50, $9.80, people will start to panic. But I think they're panicking now. This red line is Lehman Brothers, and you could see the pattern. And the blue line is Deutsche Bank, and this goes back to like 2006. And you could see what's going on right there. Deutsche Bank was worth $140 a share. You could see this. Well, here we are now, about ready for this free fall, this cliff dive into the drink. Just what happened with Lehman Brothers, and this is not good, folks. They lost 6.7%, 6.7% in a day. Here's what the day chart looks like. Now the stock is 11.48. I don't know what it's doing in the after hours. This is just they had this this cliff dive, doing in the middle of the day, and the politics about this horrible. Deutsche Bank with its hundreds of trillions of dollars in leverage. This has a very negative political connotation if Angela Merkel has to go in and bail it out. She's already having trouble over there. People are hating her with the whole the refugee crisis that she started, and all the rapes and all the terrible things going all over there in Germany. And she just lost a big election a few weeks ago, lost a lot of power, and now she's got to come in and take the taxpayer money from Germany and bail out this big behemoth bank, which incidentally, there are major rules, of course. I don't know, Mario Draghi doesn't seem to pay attention to any of the EU rules, but the EU rules about banks is that no help, no state help. No state. I mean, how much would that require to prop that up? And then would there be a bigger run on the bank for everybody to pull their money out, and it would still implode anyway? And then all the losses would be on German taxpayers. This is a mess, folks. This is a absolute positive mess. If you have a down day Friday at the end of the day, you look out Monday. There's also other big warnings going on with this yuan, being included in the basket of currencies and it displacing the dollar, and that there's going to be big problems with that. I mean, this looks like the perfect storm, economic financial storm. Maybe not. Maybe they'll flood the markets with all kinds of more money. But as my friend Greg Manarino says, if they want to prop something up, if they want to keep interest rates low, if they want to prop up a bank, Manarino, which so aptly says and boils it down to something very simple. Manarino runs TradersChoice.net, a free trading site. He says, they can't just wish it by decree. They have to do something. They have to print money. They have to buy bonds. They have to buy stock. They have to do something. And something, when it comes to Deutsche Bank, may be unbelievably huge. And what about all the other bad banks in Europe and Spain, Italy, massive trouble, France, quietly having bank trouble in France, bank trouble all over the globe. It's horrible. They're banked. What do you think? What about the Wells Fargo thing? I mean, were they doing that because they were flush with cash and they were making tons of loan and their trades were working out, or were they committing massive amounts of fraud? I like to call them Wells Fraudgo. They're committing massive amounts of fraud. Why? Because they're capital impaired? I mean, and then you had the CEO saying, well, the bonuses stay. Well, this week, not so much. What about the criminal allegations? I mean, that's bank fraud. It's fraud. And they had 5,300 employees fired, and yet the execs are going to keep most of their bonus. Now they're going to claw. Oh, we're going to claw some back. Oh, okay. That's like a guy robbing a bank for 200 grand, and then you claw back, 50 grand, and they keep 150. That's what we're talking about here. I mean, the clawback is nothing. They still end up rich. They should be charged criminally. and this is multiple people in the bank, that's another RICO operation where criminal, the racketeering people get involved and they are conspiring to commit crimes. I can't believe the CEO didn't know that. If he didn't, he's a buffoon. I mean, this kind of massive fraud, creating phony accounts and credit cards and you name it. I mean, that's state of California so miffed they stopped doing business with Wells Fargo. Unbelievable. Excuse me, Wells Fraud Go. Talk about sell, sell, sell. Here's another story with big financial and, well, geopolitical implications, too. Barack Obama got a pie in the face. Now, this is very political. Who in the heck is going to want to go home to their district in Congress or the Senate running for re-election saying, I propped up, I helped Saudi Arabia. And this is the veto where the bill was the bill to allow Americans to sue Saudi Arabia for the 9/11 attacks, which also came out with all the release of these papers, and also that, as I pointed out to you in AP stories, that that a lot of these guys were helped along by some mosques that are radical Islamic in nature, and teaching these guys and helping these guys is unbelievable. We have Saudi Arabia prepares to, they're not going to take this lying down. Saudi Arabia, Gulf states, prepare to strike back following 9/11 veto. And I'm talking about the Gulf states. It's not just Saudi Arabia. They have their own loose coalition, NATO, so to speak. One of the states is in the Gulf, Qatar, Bahrain, and we have military bases there. And Saudi Arabia has officially $95.6 billion in U.S. bonds. Unofficially, could be hundreds of billions of dollars more. This is Defense Secretary Ash Carter saying this could be devastating to U.S. military and counterterrorism. I mean, we're over there in Syria, and that's the Sunni side. They're for the Syrians. Some of this military stuff it's got to be going to Syria. Has to be. Could lead to a public disclosure of American secrets. And even undercut counterterrorism. This is Ash Carter once again. And what might that be? Might some emails pop up between, the Saudi Arabian security services and the Department of Defense, or the Bush White House or the CIA, saying, yeah, it's okay. Listen, you go ahead and you get your guys on the plane and fly into those buildings. You still can't explain Building 7. You can't explain Building 7. It didn't get hit by anything, and 8 or 9 hours later, it falls straight to the ground. It free falls into the ground. It's unbelievable. To continue Ash Carter's great efforts, could hurt counterterrorism efforts by sowing mistrust among U.S. partners and allies. Well, it's too late. It's too late. The Gulf Coalition, the GCC, the Gulf Arab States GCC. It's a 6-member coalition. The other big thing about this, and Obama's right about this, I got to tell you, I don't agree with the president much on anything, but he vetoed this, and rightly or wrongly, and because it opens America up for all kinds of lawsuits. Sets a precedent that you don't have sovereign immunity anymore. And it's not like the United States isn't running around the globe and committing, problems that might get them sued, with these drone strikes and the collateral damage of people being killed. Remember that, the drone murder program, and Obama, basically being quoted saying, I'm good at killing people. That has not ended. I mean, it's got less reporting, but 4,000 people have been killed in this murder program, and it's a lot of collateral damage, a lot of kids killed. Where's the New York Times with this? Where's the liberal media? Where are these liberals that are all against all the evil, neocon Republicans and the neocons? Well, neocons could be Democrats too. Look at Hillary Clinton, but it's unbelievable. So the things in the economy, the things in the counterterrorism world, the war march, it is going great, not going well. We're hurling towards, the perfect storm of financial, geopolitical, and military trouble. And here we have he's changed this to the CEO of Wells Fargo, that he's had to relinquish $41 million, but that's nothing to him. This is couch cushion money. He doesn't leave him poor. This guy, and if he's guilty, and anybody else at Wells Fargo, and I don't mean fraud goes what I want to keep saying, they should be indicted. one of the persons that manages this thing, she retired with 125 million. Oh, now it's only 90 million, and she's not going to get her pension either. But they end up with 90 million, 80 million, whatever. I mean, and no criminal charges. Just, oops. Oh well, we priced or missold or accidentally sold, and 5,300 people get canned. I can't imagine 5,300 people are running around without a single manager going, whoa, you're creating all these accounts? Let's check into that. I mean, is this fraudulent? How many loans did you put out? How many fraudulent credit cards did you put out? How many, what? Unbelievable. That it's just the people, none of the managers who are making hundreds, tens of millions of dollars in bonuses, none of them know anything. Just the business is so good, the economy is so fabulous that, we have some fraud that's going on there. Well, I don't think it's fabulous, and what I think is that they could be capital impaired. There could be much, much more trouble behind the scenes at Wells Fargo than anybody would like to admit. And I can't believe they're the only bank committing fraud and ripping off their consumers. But I digress. Let's move on to the debate, round one. Let's talk about the debate. Well, there was a debate. It says it was a debate between, Clinton and Donald Trump. No. See this guy down here, Lester Holt, who represents NBC News? Yeah. No hard questions for Clinton. He interrupts Donald Trump 40 times. He starts debating with Donald Trump. Now, a lot of you worked at ABC and CNN. There is no way that Lester Holt went on the stage here without sitting down with the top executives at NBC and mapping out what they were going to do. And what they were going to do was not bring up the fact that, that Clinton had all these server and email problems because she was covering up the fact she was committing treason and selling out America by selling bribes and by taking bribes and selling favors, where the Russians end up with our nuclear, 20% of our nuclear uranium production, or that Bill Clinton gets $1.5 million for doing a speech at UBS after Clinton, interjects herself with the whole, money over there in Swiss banks deal. There are many different things. All of her aides taking the fifth or getting immunity deals. Oh no, nothing about that. No, we got this, Miss Universe, who you called Miss Piggy, which Trump says is false. Or they do some story about how Trump comes out and says, we should not have nuclear first strike. I would not use nuclear weapons first. And of course, Hillary Clinton, she's down with that. She just, nothing. It's not like the press wouldn't conspire with the Democratic National Committee, the DNC, and Hillary Clinton, thank you, WikiLeaks, as they did with the primary season, the Democratic primary. That was laid bare. Multiple news organizations, including NBC, took direction from the DNC. Hillary Clinton, after the Matt Lauer, the presidential forum, was mad that she was asked so many questions about her emails and called up the top executives at NBC. So they say. That's what the reporting is. That's what some of the reporting is. At any rate, listen, you could just look at it for yourself. This was Donald Trump against Clinton, Lester Holt, and NBC News. And I used to think Lester Holt was fair, but no, he's not. He wasn't. NBC wasn't fair. You don't have a debate like that where none of this stuff comes up. Servers to hide the fact you're selling favors to your global charity fraud. And none of that's brought up whatsoever. None. They even, with this, I want to go back a minute, James Comey, nobody really covered the fact that James Comey was in front of Congress saying, don't call us weasels. That's not newsworthy, really? The head of the FBI? What is the head of the FBI sat in front of Congress and says, it's not fair for you to call us weasels? Huh? When's the last time that happened? Never. I'd say that's pretty newsworthy, and that's a lie by omission. Why? Why would they not want to focus on James Comey? Because it all makes Hillary Clinton, their candidate, look good. And listen, Lester Holt, these people, NBC, Holt, CNN, ABC, anybody with a news credential, NBC News, this is what they need to be news. They need to be fair arbiters of the truth. And without that, they're not news operations. This is, as I said in the past, a form of fraud. And nowhere in the USA Today brings up the fact that, that was kind of unfair. They don't bring up the fact that, it's kind of unfair, but you have Hillary in Raleigh, North Carolina, blast Trump's debate performance. Really, he blasted. Oh, his debate performance. Oh, really? You mean the performance where you teamed up with Lester Holt and NBC News to make sure you didn't have to answer any embarrassing questions? I mean, oh, so, the left wants a person that jeopardized national security. No doubt she did that. Many people in the background say people died because of this. That's what the unofficial, unreported news is that you haven't heard. Lots of people have pointed to the fact that likely people died because of this unprotected server. Well, we had an asset in Iran that whose name was mentioned, went through her server, and the Iranians put him to death. So there's just one, probably of many more examples there. And then the selling of favors. They sold favors. They took bribes. Hillary Clinton took bribes. This is outrageous. That's not even brought up. And then she has a global, as Charles Ortel and many other people say, she has a charity fraud work and a global charity fraud. The Clinton Foundation, global charity fraud. I mean, they got Democrats saying, you should shut that down. Why are they saying it? Because they know it's a fraud. They know it. So, the press, they're not going to recover from this. They're not going to recover from this. They need to have the image of being impartial and fair arbiters of the truth. They're political hacks. Again, this is a form of fraud. Sell the stock of NBC, CNN, ABC, New York Times, the LA Times. Sell the stock of anybody that is calling themselves as a news organization, and yet they are completely, totally biased, and they won't even bring it up. They think that this debate was fair. Trump didn't do very well. And all the online polls, Trump won. Yeah, I know, it's not scientific. But if it wasn't scientific, wouldn't Hillary Clinton win a few times? I mean, they had an online poll with Hillary Clinton. They had a poll with Hillary Clinton at CNN, and they oversampled Democrats to make it look like she won. They juiced the poll. Reuters has juiced the polls. They've been widely reported that they changed the polls to give Hillary Clinton a lead. I mean, the mainstream media, they've lost all their credibility, and they're committing fraud. And when I say fraud, they're not being fair arbiters of the truth. They need that. That's their stock in trade. Lester Holt, poof, you're done. You're a hack, just like all the other hacks at NBC, ABC, CNN. Hacks. And to some extent, Fox News. Hacks. The neocons. The people, they want this criminal. The multiple servers, taking bribes, global charity fraud. I'm for her. I'm for Hillary Clinton. I'm for her. These big people, these big Democrats and billionaires and whatever. Steve Case, one of the latest. Well, Hillary Clinton, I have to have. So you want the person that had private unprotected servers, sold favors at the State Department for donations to her global charity fraud. That's presidential, right? Give me a break. Now I want to come into something I've been wanting to cover for I don't know how long, and that is listening to lawful commands. All these police shootings. You know what they all have in common? And it's this. And I'm not loving this. I don't want to see anybody shot or killed, and this shouldn't be somebody's death sentence if they don't do this. But listen, folks. The first escalation starts by not listeing to lawful commands. And a little story in the newspaper of these two, triad men, these people here in our area, and this is triad. This is the triad of North Carolina. Talk about their experience on a Steve Harvey show, and they talked about how they bought a house they were redoing. The cops showed up. Now, instead of telling the cops, "F you, beat it," and whatever, and we're not going to give you our IDs or anything like that, they complied with lawful commands, and the police went on their way. There were a couple of black guys, and the police went on their way. Here's a case you didn't hear about, and it's one county north of where I live in Guilford County. And it's in Rockingham County, and it's a couple of sheriff's deputies in Rockingham County see a guy get in a car with his wife and child at 1:45 in the morning. They're coming back from a wedding reception. Spoiler alert, we find out he's intoxicated. He's way over the legal limit. And he evidently going to the bathroom or something like that, gets in his car. Well, the police pull up as this guy's getting in his car. This is also an area where they've had, break-ins. So two sheriff deputies start following this guy in a low-speed chase, and they follow him all the way to his driveway. He doesn't pull over. That number one, first bing, 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 bing. Didn't pull over. The lights, sirens, the police pulling you over and you don't do it, that's a lawful, basically, command you didn't do. And when I read the paper on this happening with this guy, and I see that wow, he took him on a low-speed chase. They used a taser, they used a pepper spray, they used a baton, and they shot him. And I thought that's what that would make you think. But I know something about the force continuum. And this guy died, incidentally. Yes, they followed him home. He was intoxicated, as the autopsy finds out. There was a big investigation in the state. It was white cops and a white guy. You didn't hear about it. This is why. And so he gets out of his car and starts giving the police a hard time. And they command him to give him his driver's license, and it doesn't listen to lawful commands. Then the taser comes out, or the pepper spray, one or the other. Pepper spray, taser, pepper spray, I don't know which. Then one of the cops hits him with a billy club, I think it was an asp, and hits him in the elbow. I think he breaks his elbow. Well, this guy, the suspect, takes the billy club away from the cop, pushes him down on the ground, turns around to the other cop with the billy club. The other cop draws his weapon and says, "Put that down or I'm going to drop you." That's his quote. "Put that down or I'm going to drop you." He doesn't, shoots him 2 or 3 times. Guy ends up dead. You never heard about it. State does an investigation. Well, listen, they followed the force continuum. They tried to pull him over. He wouldn't do it. They tried to get his license, tried to get him to stay in the car, tried to get him to calm down. They had to tase him. They had to pepper spray him. They had to use that, we start beating somebody. That's what pepper spray was, you had a gun or a nightstick, and then, taser, and then pepper spray. Well, you don't have to break bones. Ultimately ends up with one of the cops' nightstick with the cop on the ground coming at the other cop. And he was unarmed, of course, but he was armed. I mean, note that the cop hit him in the arm, broke his elbow, didn't hit him in the head. Well, this guy's coming at the other cop and he gets shot. All this to say, all this escalates, no matter what police shooting you have, it all escalates because people aren't listening to lawful commands. And the president should come out and say, hey, listen, you got to listen to the police. When they tell you to drop a weapon, get out of the car, put your hands up, turn around, stop. And I'm not saying the police are great, but people say, well, the police escalate. Bing, bing, wait a minute, stop. When you don't listen to lawful commands, you, the citizen, are escalating the situation. You have to listen to lawful commands. If you have a beef, you go to court. And that's a big problem, and that has been glossed over. You hear this, oh, well, Michael Brown didn't have a gun and he was shot. He didn't listen to lawful commands. He tried to wrestle the gun out of the car. He was going to charge the police. Yes, he got shot. Just because you don't have a gun doesn't mean that you can't end up, shot and dead from a police officer who feels threatened. And I'm not saying that they do everything right. I'm saying that people need to be educated about listening to lawful commands. That's the way I see it. I'm Greg Hunter. Thank you for supporting USA Watchdog with your comments and your donations. That helps us out. Remember, fear not. Prepare yourself mentally, physically, and above all, spiritually. Fear not. God the Father is in charge.